Hi there, a very good afternoon and welcome to iQuanta's YouTube channel. Today we happen to have a special session happening. So you remember that we are going to start our crash course, the last leg where you and I move towards mastery of every topic. So yesterday Kamal Lohia sir took you through a session of this particular batch, and today it is my turn to take you a step forward. So once again, pre-CAT 24 crash course. This is the first session of VA, and today we will go ahead and talk about how to approach questions, how to eliminate options. Along with that, we'd also go ahead and put in a bit of practice, and of course, I look forward to hearing from you. When you tell me to do something or when you ask me something, that allows me to design my sessions in such a way that they become more specific, more precise for you. So let's go ahead and get started. But first up, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you start getting the notifications. My name is Vikrant. I'm your personal coach for all things related to English and communication skills on this particular channel. And with that, if you have any questions, please ask. Okay, so mostly good afternoons. So let's go ahead and start with the first set of questions. So please go through these directions. Let's have a go. Look at the directions once. So what do the directions tell you? They make it very evident that you are going to deal with two para-jumble questions. Now, how do we really go ahead and solve the para-jumble questions? So, typically, think of it as a puzzle. So, remember, think of it as a seating arrangement puzzle where you are given 4 sentences, you need to make them sit in the right order. And therefore, the first thing that you do is you start off by identifying the clues, then you focus on one clue at a time and use that clue to figure out some kind of sequence, some kind of mandatory pair. So here is your first question. You notice this bar at the top. It is a 1-minute timer. When it vanishes, I will give you a little more time. I can understand, up to around 90 seconds is fine, but I will at least use it to pace ourselves today. So there you go. The timer starts now. It's vanishing. Okay, so our 1 minute is up. I expect that I'd start getting answers in another 15, 20, 30 seconds or so. So Pragya is the first one to share the answer, followed by Pulkit. Khushi, Tulsi and Niveda are the top 5. Okay. Hello HP. Okay, so 3421, 2431, 4312, 3412, plenty of options. Obviously, there are 4 factorial ways. So let's go ahead and read these together first. So that's how I go ahead and tackle it. So let's see. So I read sentence 1. However, who did it and why remains a source of speculation that now bubbles as strong as ever. So 2 things. However requires contrast right before it. It is a pronoun, needs to refer to some noun. Second, the upcoming centenary and the discovery of new evidence have prompted historians, filmmakers and forensic scientists to reinvestigate the matter. So you notice the upcoming centenary of what? I need to know that, right? New evidence, in which case? When you say the matter, which matter? Okay, third, on this much, everyone agrees. Okay, so the this is already present in the next part of the sentence. So on this much, so this is no longer a relevant clue for us. On this much, everyone agrees, we lost the revolutionary leader. Which leader? On 22nd August 1922 near Bialnablath, a village in country Cork. Okay. Fourth, it is the loudness that a century later still echoes around Ireland as an unanswered question. How we lost Michael Collins. So now that I see, you notice third says the revolutionary leader, fourth says Michael Collins. So can I say that that's one sequence that we need to have? Then if you look at 2, the upcoming centenary, discovery of new evidence, prompted historians to reinvestigate the matter. So the matter can be third or fourth. So second needs at least one of these two coming before it. And then let's look at first. I love transitional expressions. However, who did it and why remains a source of speculation. Now, speculation is where you're guessing. So right before it, you would want to put in a sentence that talks about something which is not speculative. So is there something definitive happening here? No. Third, yes. On this much, everyone agrees. But then here, there is a speculation. So if you want to justify, however, you need to put in this sentence right before. So 3 and 1, that's a mandatory pair for us. So now the question is, where do we put 2? So let's just check. So we definitely need to have 4, 3, 1. The only question is now, where does 2 go? We know that 2 needs to have at least either 4 or 3 coming before. Otherwise, you'd not be able to write it. So it can't be at the beginning. So these are the 2 likely locations because 3 and 1 are anyway coming together. So it has to be 4, 2, 3, 1 or 4, 3, 1, 2. Right. So where does 2 go? So 2 talks about centenary. And we want to reinvestigate the matter. If you want to reinvestigate the matter, and there is centenary, so centenary also connects it with 4th. So the best place for 2 will actually be towards the end. So the upcoming centenary that you have, it should be put after 4 and 3. We don't know how we lost it. This is what we know, but there are speculations, and then investigate the matter. So you do need after 4 and 3. So let's put 2 here instead of putting it here. So if I combine all of this, we are going to get 4, 3, 1 and 2. And see, if we failed to arrive at this answer, this just means that there were some clues that we could not identify or could not use correctly. Okay, so that's how it is going to work, and that's okay. See, you and I are working together precisely for this reason. If you make a mistake, if you were to make a mistake, it is better to make it here when you practice things with me instead of making it in the actual exam. So use the sectionals, use the mocks, use the crash course to make sure that we go ahead and practice tons of stuff together. Look at our approach closely. If there are any shortcomings, if there are any issues, we can go ahead and fix those, and that will take our accuracy to the next level altogether. Okay. हर्षित, as I said, यार तो LR कैसे करता है भाई? जैसे LR में दिमाग चलाते हैं क्लूज में, वैसे ही चलाओ ना. क्लूज निकालो, फिर वैसे ही दिमाग चलाओ. और यार ये ना, एक बात सुने आप मेरी, मतलब one of the biggest challenges that a lot of us face is that we have some habits, we start thinking of those habits as our identity. No? So I drink coffee. That's a habit that I have. But if I say I'm a coffee drinker, it becomes a part of my identity. And when I make it a part of my identity, I'll struggle to let go of it. So don't associate your identity with your habits. That will help you break through those habits very easily. So when you say मेरा दिमाग ही नहीं चलता, चलता है भाई. जब दिमाग चलना बंद हो जाता है तो डॉक्टर बोलते हैं कि अब so चलता है, मुझे पता है. तो अब अगले सवाल में दिमाग चलाओ, चलो. So here is the second question and I'll start the timer. Shefali, I just read your question. I'll answer it after discussing this parajumble. Oh, Scooby, welcome. Navanil, however, the however in first requires a contrast and the contrast was available only in 3. Okay, a lot of answers. Fantastic. So, fabulous. Let's go ahead and dive into this now. Okay, it is turning off the tap. So, what is turning off the tap? The private sector did the same in the past. What? Because securing legal sanction for closure was virtually impossible. So, what the second sentence says is that there was a point of time in the past where if a private organization wanted to shut down its business, it was virtually impossible. So, because you could not shut it down, what do? You do something that someone else has also done. After years of funding the losses of public sector companies, the government is doing the unthinkable. Okay. Fourth, private sector and public sector companies indeed act in a similar fashion when in crisis. So now that I've read the 4, look at third. It says after years of funding the losses of public sector companies, the government is doing the unthinkable. What is the unthinkable? Turning off the tap. Stop giving the money. So what was being done? They were funding the losses. Now they're saying we are no longer going to fund the losses. So turning off the tap here will be we won't give you money anymore. So 3 and 1 get connected by that idea. Then now we know when you look at 2, the private sector did the same. Where is an action happening? The action is happening in first. So you need to have 2 after 1. And then when you talk about 4 says private and public sector companies are alike when it comes to a crisis. So that similarity has to be established by writing 2. So public sector, government did something, private sector also did the same, both of them are similar. So you would have 4 coming afterwards. So that, I think this solves itself. 3, 1, 2 and 4. That's our answer for this particular parajumble. Okay, so now the question that I got asked a little while ago, and the question was, English बहुत weak है, कुछ समझ में नहीं आता, क्या करूं? ये लोग क्या करना है यार? सुनो, मेरे पास खाली स्लाइड नहीं है, मैं वैसे ही बताता हूं. एक सेंटेंस है जिसे हमें समझना है. There is a sentence that we want to understand. What can stop us from interpreting it? What can stop us from understanding it? At the end of the day, that sentence consists of some words, and those words are arranged in a particular manner to create a sentence. So the arrangement of the words is called the syntax of the sentence. So if you could not understand a sentence, it could be because you failed to understand some words. right? So if you improve your vocabulary, that should help. Make it better. Now these words can also be some technical words. These words may not be good old plain regular words. They can be a piece of jargon. So you realize there are times when we use a single word to talk about a big concept. For example, I can talk about GDP. Just a tiny little expression, but then if you look at the definition, it may run into 3-4 lines, right? So in case it is a technical word, in case it is a jargon, then reading more or developing familiarity with that area will help. And then it boils down to syntax. You pick up syntax through grammar. So you remember the basic syntax of English. You have a subject and then you have a verb, you happen to have an optional object. But then a sentence can be made complicated by adding a lot of other things. So you can add some adjectives to the subject, you can add adverbs to verb, you can add some adjectives to the object, and then you can combine multiple clauses within a sentence. So if a sentence is long, convoluted, but you are somebody who's good at grammar, you are somebody who can look at every single part in a sentence and figure out what it is, you can always deconstruct it. So apart from this, reading ability is fundamentally a skill, and therefore you need to start reading more. And when I say read more, start at the level that you are at. Okay, here is something that I prescribed a student of mine quite a few years ago. Let's call him Rohit. Okay, so Rohit came from a very small village in the interiors of UP. I'm from Punjab, by the way. So he came from the interiors of Uttar Pradesh, and he brought in the same concern. Sir, I'm not able to understand the passages at all. Sir, हमें समझ ही नहीं आता क्या लिखा है. So I asked him to pick up a magazine that is meant for children. The only condition was it should be published in English. So he picked up this magazine called Champak. So I told him that, okay, your job is to read Champak and underline the words that you do not understand and then bring over the magazine to me once you've underlined the words whose meanings were not known to you. So that told me about the difficulty level that he was facing. Okay, so even some of those everyday words were not very well known to him, so I could give him a customized plan. So after he mastered the words of Champak, we moved him over to India Today and then eventually to non-fiction. So yes, he had to work harder than the rest, it took him longer than the rest, but under right guidance, he could eventually make it. So please make sure that you show up to work every day. And when I say you show up to work every day, you are learning new words, you are reading a bit on grammar, and you are also reading in general, starting at the level where you are at. So when I say the level where you are at, I'm saying go a little beyond that. So pick up a text that you do not understand fully. A text that you do understand 60, 70, maybe 80%, but not more than that. That's how you challenge yourself and become better. Okay? So with that, let me now bring you back. Read the passage given and answer the questions that follow. So you will have a passage. Now, how are we supposed to approach a passage? In the exam, you have the opportunity of reading the questions and then coming over to the passage, right? Here I have slides, so you can't do that, but in the exam you can do that. The question is, should you? Should you read the questions first and then the passage? My answer is an absolute no. When it comes to exams like the CAT and the XAT, it is not a strategy that I want you to see implementing. So what I want you to do instead is read the passage, read it fast. At the end of that reading, get a mental overview of the passage. So reading it fast is a skill. Generating mental overview is a skill. So you may need to work on those skills individually in order to put this approach into practice. But here's a passage. Once you are done reading the slides, so I'll practically take you through the passage paragraph by paragraph. Please read it and then we will go ahead and solve or answer the questions. And while answering the questions, you are supposed to use the seeker of your YouTube video to refer to the passage again. right? So once you are done reading it, let me know so that I can take you over to the next slide. Here you go, the first part. Shefali, I don't know. I don't know because I don't know your current level. Okay? But all that you can do is go ahead and give your best over the course of next 60 days, and that's what counts. Harshit, yes. Absolutely yes. That will help. नितेश, आज करके देखते हैं, आज देखते हैं, मुझे बताना हर एक क्वेश्चन में जहां तुम दो ऑप्शंस में कंफ्यूज हो, मुझे बताओ कौन से दो ऑप्शंस में कंफ्यूजन है, फिर अपन काम करेंगे उस पे साथ में. Muskan, this basically says that our passage retention needs further improvement and nothing more. Scooby, I'm assuming you're talking about the previous question. 4 talked about the revolutionary leader, whereas, 3 talked about the revolutionary leader. 4th was the one that had the name. So what would you put? The name first and then the revolutionary leader, or the other way around? Anurag, work on your reading speed. We can talk about it after this passage, okay? Remind me and we can talk. So Kalyani, that's a very clear indicator that you need to basically go ahead and work on your level of familiarity, right? Acha, sorry, yaar, I think I should give everybody radio silence so that they can focus on the passage. So even those of you who've read it, please take 10 seconds of radio silence and then we'll talk. And I'm sorry here, I'm not able to read all the messages. If I am not able to read yours, don't worry. If you are a student here at iQuanta already, you know how to reach out to me. If you are not, I'll start scheduling some AMAs with you as well. Yes, Chintan. Okay, so taking you over to the next slide now. Okay, taking you to the next one in 5 seconds. Shweta, you coming in late? Why? Today NMAT ke you also missed out on some of my NMAT classes. Okay, next. Of course, you won't have this luxury in the exam, but as long as you and I are together. Okay, so assuming that you've read it, I generally ask everybody to make it a point that they are able to read the passage in under 3 minutes at the beginning. Then gradually, I want you to reach a level where you are able to read it in under 2 minutes. I take around 1 minute to read the passage. Okay, so you realize now, imagine if you are somebody who's taking 3 minutes and I'm somebody who takes 1 minute, the moment we are done with one passage, just one passage, I have gained 2 minutes over you, which means that I'd be able to attempt at least one extra question. And that's my competitive advantage over you. See? And at the end of this reading, I expect you to have a mental overview of the passage. What is dogma? Dogma is a belief. Okay, so the simple meaning is dogma is a belief. Now, if you elaborate, it is a fixed belief. It is a belief that a person holds and is unwilling to change. And this word moves towards the negative territory, so it tells you that the belief is perhaps not even the right belief to hold. So, a belief that somebody holds, or a belief that you expect everybody else to hold, usually without any justification or without any questioning of it. Okay? चलिए, so let's go ahead, and somebody says 10% दिमाग दे दो. भाई दिमाग नहीं है, वही तो. That's the funny thing. I'm not, if you look at me, think I'd consider myself smart or sharp. और in fact किसी दिन अगर मेरे को एक खुशफहमी हो भी गई, if I do have this notion that I am excellent, then my parents and your parents are absolutely similar. You go home and no matter what you've done in life, they look at you and they tell you, "Tu to gadha hai." So they bring you back to the ground pretty soon. So reading fast does not require brains, it just requires effort. Literally, गधा होने का ही तो फायदा है, effort यार, effort. अपन रोज फाइट मारते हैं तो स्किल्स वाली चीजें तो कर ही लेते है ना. Okay, so are you ready for the question now? अच्छा, कुछ और words आए जा रहे हैं. Redemption is when you are saved from the sin or some mistake, basically. Okay, there you go. So, the question and the timer has started. Amanullah, yes, yaar. Thank you for the reminder. Harshit, yes. नहीं भूलोगे यार, रिटेंशन है तुम में. क्यों लग रहा है तुम्हें ऐसा होगा? Yes, BL Aditya, absolutely yes. That's possible. Okay, so let's start. So, what is the question? Which of the following is the main purpose of the passage? So, essentially it is an overview based question. So, in order to answer these questions, you need to have a clarity of the purpose along with the main idea. You combine those two and you have the answer. So, let's start with A. To highlight the downfall of China in ancient times. Now, the downfall of China in ancient times is mentioned, yes. But can I say that it is highlighted? When you highlight something, you emphasize it, you spend some more time on it. Now, in which context is it mentioned in the passage? What is the context? Let's say here it is. So, according to the passage, it is a myth that is used by the Communist Party in China. The party needed a new justification. Redemption of the humiliations of the past has become a powerful one. So it is a myth. So can I say it exists in the passage? And it is just mentioned in passing. So highlight, that's questionable. Well, let's see. An attempt to prophesy America's response to China's attacking Taiwan. Yep. It is something that is given in the first paragraph as well. Now, this is where an overview helps. So when I read the passage, at the end of it, I notice that there are 4 paragraphs. What was the first paragraph about? Then, will the US risk a war with China over Taiwan? Second, reasons why the war can happen. Third, contemporary Chinese nationalism is based on this. And fourth, that's what it basically is about, right? So, if I look at this, even if I have to compare it, in first I said that it is questionable, but even if it is not questionable, can I say that it is mentioned? It captures only the third paragraph, whereas B gives you first and second both, and then C, to give a reason for China moving away from Marxist-Leninist ideology, no such reason has been provided. Why did China move away from Marxist-Leninist ideology? We don't know. All we know is that they've moved away from it, but this reason, something that is not even provided, how do we call it the main purpose? So C is ruled out. If C is ruled out, D is also ruled out. And if D is ruled out, you have to choose one of the two. And even if you're confused about whether it is highlighted or not, even then, can I say that B gives you 2 paragraphs, whereas A gives you just 1 paragraph? So which one of the two is better? B, and therefore, that's our answer. Okay, so there it goes. Here, can I explain the passages? Yeah, I can, but na live sessions में थोड़ा challenge हो जाता है creating the opportunity, and that is why I think you remember I've started this other series called 100 passages with 100 percentiler on our YouTube channel. I do it there, where you solve the passage and then we both sit down together and discuss it threadbare. So you can probably go through that. In case there is a specific part of the passage that you could not understand, please flag that. I'd love to share it with you. Here is the next one. अननोन राइडर, यार ना फिर क्वेश्चन करने में थोड़ा बायस आ जाएगा फिर तुम लोगों को. मैंने समझा दिया तो क्वेश्चंस आसान हो जाएंगे ना. आमिर, करना चाहिए आइडियली, लिखना नहीं चाहिए, मेंटली इवेंचुअली करना है. गौरव, आई डिड गिव यू अ समरी फॉर दिस वन व्हाइल डिस्कसिंग द प्रीवियस क्वेश्चन. Okay, so our 1 minute is coming to an end. Let us see. मुस्कान झूठी है. Okay, so we know that tone basically is designed to test our understanding of the author's emotions towards the topic, the author's attitude towards the topic. If you don't understand this, then chances are that you may end up getting it wrong. So tone typically refers to the mood implied by an author's word choice and the way that the text can make a reader feel. So tone is used by the author to create a particular mood in the reader. So if the mood created in the reader's mind is that of sadness, then we'll say that the author's tone is melancholic. Okay, such things. So now let's start. In order to become good at this question, you first and foremost need to realize that the words that the author uses indicate his emotional state or his attitude. And that is because a word does not convey just a meaning. A word can also convey some kind of emotion. Now tell me something. Can I come to you one fine day and say that, oh, you know what, I went to a party last night. And the food at the party, oh, please don't ask. भाई मतलब खाना तो भयानक रूप से मजेदार था. So can I say खाना भयानक रूप से मजेदार था? Is that legit? Can I do that? We can't, right? Because if you know Hindi, then you know bhayanak is a negative word. For example, if I for example, let's say if I use the word obnoxious, can I say the food was obnoxiously delicious? I can't. These are negative words. So that won't fit into that context. So that's how we figure out the author's attitude. So in this particular case, what do you think? The author is positive, neutral, or negative towards the topic, and that is, will China go on war with will the US go on war with China for saving Taiwan? So it's a pretty neutral passage, right? Now let us see. Let's start with A. The next part of the equation is, after going through the passage, you need to know the meanings of these 4 words. If you do not, then you may end up making a mistake. So what exactly is sarcastic? What is sarcastic, friends? How do we define that? So sarcastic is where what you say and what you want to convey are two opposites. So sarcasm is use of words to convey the opposite of what you want to say, often with a mocking tone. For example, let us say that you come to a session of mine late, and then I look at you and I'm like, wow, you're really good at arriving late. Such a useful skill it is, no? So that's sarcasm. Do I want you to come late? Do I really feel that it is a superpower, that it is useful? But I'm stating the opposite. Every mother is good at sarcasm. Has it ever happened that you dropped a glass and destroyed it, obliterated it? You do that and your mother will probably come to you and say, oh, thanks a lot for breaking my glass. I always wanted to clean up these shattered shards of glass, you know. You so nice. Why don't you go ahead and break 2 more? That's sarcasm. Right? So is the author being sarcastic? Is he stating the opposite of what he actually wants to convey? No. So let's rule it out. Then the next one is analytical. So what is analytical? In analytical tone, the author would typically give you some reasons. I'm reading your messages alongside here. So in analytical ones, the author gives you some reasons or factors that are relevant to the topic, and those reasons or those factors either help us understand the topic better, or those reasons or factors help us in arriving at or forming an opinion about the topic. So in this case, yes, the author has mentioned factors that enhance our understanding of the topic. So this can be our answer. Okay, what is jocular? Jocular basically means humorous. So if a person is jocular, he is somebody who is a very happy person and is likely to crack a lot of jokes. Right? So that's jocular. And then abstruse is obscure. Abstruse is something which is not known to many people or something that is not understood by many people. So was the passage difficult to understand? I'd say as passages go, not really. The language was not that challenging. The words were not that low frequency, and therefore, and even otherwise, abstruse makes it negative. We definitely know that the author's tone is not negative, and therefore even this gets ruled out. Was he humorous? No. Was he sarcastic? No. So we are left with analytical. Amir is saying, really, Sherlock? Amir, but you need to bring in the context. Yes. In certain contexts, yes, this is in fact used as an example in the classes to teach sarcasm quite commonly. Okay, your next question, and the timer starts now. Don't forget to use the seeker to refer to the right part of the passage. Samyak, not data points, but yeah, some reasons, some factors, yes. Okay, so I typically expect you to devote around 90 seconds per RC question. If you are able to spend less than that, which quite a few of you are, that's fantastic. So this is basically what contextual interpretation of a particular expression. So if you go to the last sentence of the first paragraph, you will find strategic ambiguity mentioned there. So what is the meaning of strategic ambiguity as used in the first paragraph of the passage? What do you understand by ambiguity? If something is ambiguous, it means that it is vague. So if a statement is ambiguous, it means that the statement can be interpreted in multiple ways and you do not know which one of those interpretations you should take. If you are ambiguous about something, it means that you're not able to take a call. No, not really. No, that'll be a different word. But then say, if somebody replies ambiguously to you, it means that his answer is not clear. His answer is vague, inexact. So let us check. So in that context, can I say America will defend Taiwan militarily against China since it is in its strategic interests? The moment you say it will defend Taiwan, you are no longer ambiguous. Ambiguous is where you are feeling that, hey, will it attack, will it not attack? I am not able to figure it out. That kinds. So this is not ambiguous and therefore can be ruled out. Okay, B, it cannot be determined whether America will defend Taiwan militarily if it is attacked by China. Yep. That's a correct interpretation of strategic ambiguity. C, America will defend Taiwan militarily only if it continues to be in its strategic interest at that point in time. No. Once again, if you are able to say it will defend, even if it is conditional, you have taken out that vagueness from the situation. Then D, so the only thing is, why C was created? C was created because this expression is strategic. And you notice, they simply introduced a reason where they've introduced the word strategic to make it appeal to us. Then D, America will not defend Taiwan militarily. Once again, if you know that it will not defend, where is the ambiguity? So even this goes, and that is why our best answer is going to be option B. Right? And here is your next question, starting the timer now. Okay, so I think in order to answer this question, we basically need to refer to the relevant paragraph, and the relevant paragraph is the third one. So let me quickly take you over to the third paragraph once. I should have copied it there, would have saved me this effort. So according to the author, it is a myth. Then there is the long hand of history. We are not determined by the past, but we ignore it at our peril. And while its effects may be the result of myths, myths can be more potent than facts. At the core of contemporary Chinese nationalism is the idea of national humiliation redeemed by renewed greatness. According to this narrative, so notice this also tells you it is not truth, it's a myth. For at least 100 years, basically China was humiliated. And if you vote for the Communist Party, it won't happen ever again. And then the next paragraph also says that this lesson is perpetuated. And even here, you notice this. The party needed a new justification. So it is a justification, right? So going by this, we know that it is a myth. that is used as a justification by a particular party to stay in power. And that is there in only option A. What are some of these other options? Some of us have also picked up D, so let's look at D. An important reason cited by the Communist Party to hold on to power, since the old communist dogma is almost irrelevant. Look at the question. The author believes it to be. The author believes it to be a myth used by them. The author does not believe it to be an important reason. Communist Party may project it as an important reason, but according to the author, it is a myth. So think of it as math, okay? This is mentioned in the third paragraph. You are basically looking for an answer choice which is closest to the third paragraph. So imagine there is a third paragraph here and you're putting an is equal to and checking. Is this equal to what is given in the third paragraph? And if you check, there you go. And for that matter, if you pick up D, the problem is then you would struggle to eliminate B as well. Then why not B? So the best answer here is option A, and that takes care of our passage. So let's take a pause from RC. Please read the directions once. So what do you think? What am I asking you to do? So this question type is known as the paragraph odd one out. The examiner gives us 5 sentences. One of them does not belong to that paragraph. So we need to go ahead and identify that sentence and mark that sentence as our answer. Just like para-jumbles, this question type is also usually non-MCQ in the exam. For the last 9 years, out of the last 9 years, so 2016 to 23, 22 was the only year when we did not get paragraph odd one outs. Otherwise, they have been a regular fixture for a pretty long time. Okay, so what I typically prefer doing in these questions is I read and try to come up with a theme that can accommodate 4 of those sentences. So after reading it, you'd notice 4 of those sentences are somehow connected because they're talking about the same theme. One does not, and that's the answer. So in at least half of the questions, this ability itself will help you pick up the right option. So there you go. Your question is on the screen and I'll start the timer. Samyak, yes, it should bring you very close to 99 percentile, yes. If we can somehow add 1 or 2 questions more, I think that should suffice. Okay, so what's our take? So the answers are coming in. Okay, so appearing a month after the US dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japanese cities, the article drew a further terrible conclusion. So when you say the article, some article. If it is mentioned here, then that gives us a potential point of connection. A further terrible conclusion tells you that, hey, a further conclusion means some conclusion has already been arrived at. So let's check. Okay, then second, in the worst crime of all, Jackson justified why aggressive wars were the human civilization's supreme crime. So when you justify a stance, then that stance is a conclusion. Your justification is the premise. So this is a conclusion. I see a further conclusion, and I see a conclusion. I see that connection. I see the article. This can be the name of an article. So we may connect it. Then third, by the late 1940s, genocide replaced aggressive warfare as a threshold that shocked the conscience of mankind. I was recently watching this shorts. You know, I mean, most of the podcasts nowadays also release shorts. So Badshah went on Lallan Top, and when he pronounced this word, he called it conscience. And I can understand, yeah, we come from small places, whatever we hear others say, we tend to repeat it, but it's conscience, antaratma, the tiny little voice within you that tells you what is right and what is wrong. So this sentence says that by the late 1940s, genocide replaced aggressive warfare as the threshold that shocked the conscience of mankind. So you're saying until 1940s, any aggressive warfare shocked the conscience of the mankind. We looked at that war and you're like, man, that's so bad. But after 1940s, wars did not bother us. We were bothered by genocide. You know, killing off a particular group or race of people in large numbers. Then fourth, if there are to be future wars, we've got to win them by being better killers, by killing more and killing more quickly than the enemy, by killing with less risk to ourselves. In elaborating this argument, Jackson concurred that modern war has become more and more a struggle between whole populations, not between armies alone. So if I see 2 and 1 are getting connected because of this the article, and further conclusion requires presence of a conclusion beforehand, so I'd probably put in 2-1. Then after this 2-1, you realize that this further conclusion is fourth. In the future warfare, you need to kill more, kill them faster and protect yourself. So that's your conclusion. So 2-1-4, not 3. 2-1-4 is something that I'm pretty sorted with. So I know my answer has to be 3 or 5. So 3 is talking about the change in the threshold at which mankind considered something obnoxious, whereas 5 once again brings you back to what Jackson says in the article and is connected to war. So I think of the two, 5 is definitely closer to 2-1-4 than 3, and that is why our answer here should be 3. So if I arrange these as a para-jumble, I'd say probably 2-1-4-5, but it is not a para-jumble. Here you simply supposed to pick up the odd one and mark that as your answer. So 3 it is. And once again, as I said, it's absolutely okay to get it wrong. Okay? In fact, if you get it wrong, smile, because we learn something and that makes us better for or better prepared for the next one. So here is the next one. Go ahead, tell me. Harshit, I will not put 2-4, but I needed 2-1. बाकी मैंने इतना ध्यान से देखा नहीं यार, पैराजम्बल तो था नहीं, तो इतना ध्यान से देखा नहीं frankly. I was just looking at connecting these and seeing which one has a different theme. Anime, TV, they were connected, of course. That is why they were a part of the same paragraph. But then I think if you go through my explanation, I've told you why I preferred that other sequence. Further conclusion, etc. and also. But then as I said, I did not look at it as a parajumble anyway. Okay, so in question number 8, I think the connection between 1, 2 and 5 should be pretty obvious to us. And in fact, when you start reading it, you notice the term was paralyzing, the term derived from here. So, in 1960s and 70s Britain, hundreds of black children were labelled as educationally subnormal and wrongly sent to ESN schools, educational subnormality schools, for pupils who were deemed to have low intelligence. Now, if you apply this label to somebody, it can be paralyzing. This term derives from some place was used to define those thoughts to have limited intellectual ability. So definitely connected. So I think these can be eliminated. Our choice is essentially between 3 and 4. Now let's look at these. Students from ESN schools would not go on to college or university. Fourth, many dyslexic and overtly shy students manage to overcome their learning barriers in ESN schools. Now, I noticed something. When I look at 3 is negative towards ESN schools. When I look at 4 says that, hey, it helped certain types of students. So 4th is positive towards ESN schools. Now, if you look at these other 3 sentences, 1, 2, 5, we are being negative or positive? Negative, right? Which means the 3rd can go with the other 3. 4th cannot. 4th can, but if you want to put 4th with the other 3, you need to bring in some kind of transitional expression of contrast, something like a but or a however, or. But then I don't see that contrast, so how would I justify 4? The other 3 negative, suddenly 1 positive without any contrast. So 4th has to be the odd one out. You notice that is why I teach tone-based questions in the class. That is why I insist that we become better at tones. Not because we get a lot of direct questions. And in exams like NMAT, etc., you will get a lot of direct tone-based questions too. In the CAT exam, it is not that frequent, but this trait, this characteristics, it helps us in so many other, at so many other places. And that is why. So 4th it is. So now that you've solved 2 paragraph odd one out questions, let's get ready for a passage. Harshit, that won't be relevant here. That won't be relevant. So, ready? कैसे तुमको टाइम करूं क्या 1 मिनट मुझे देखने दो since I want you guys to read it. So I have a passage which had 5 paragraphs. Every paragraph is on a single slide. If I give you 50 seconds, it will still be 250. If you 40. So let me time. Can I push you a little? Can I push you a little? Can I give you 35 seconds per slide? I'm opening the timer alongside. चलेगा push करूँ थोड़ा या 40 seconds. What do you want? You want me to give you 35 seconds per slide, 40 seconds per slide? What do you want me to do? Let's do something. Let me start with the first slide. I'll time. Once the 40 seconds are over, I'll ask you. Okay? Right. हम pause कर लेंगे तो फिर आंसर कैसे देंगे बाद में साथ में लाइव. फिर मेरी क्लास कहीं और जा रही होगी तो 2 मिनट के बाद पिछले सवाल का आंसर दे रहा होगा. ऐसा कैसे चलेगा जतिन? चलो. I'll ask. So for the first paragraph, let me give you around 40 and then we'll see. Jatin says 1 second, 35. शुक्र मतलब 1 second है भगवान. Shweta, yes, you're right. Okay, so you notice I gave you typically around 50-55 seconds. So that's when I started receiving the first 10. So I think first done. So I'm guessing 40 seconds should be enough. Next. Okay, next. And here is the last paragraph. Okay, so I hope that you are through with the passage by now. And once again, what I want you to have in mind is the overview, right? So what is this passage about? What is the purpose of the passage? What was the key idea of every paragraph? Please make sure that you keep those things in your mind. And here is the question, the first one, and your time starts now. Oh, Meghna, that makes it easy for you. So minute is almost over. Okay, so let us check. Let us start. First, both of them are purely symbolic concepts of the mind and do not correspond to actual structures. So most of you have picked up C, which means that You guys are, A is true, that's fine. The unconscious mind resides in the ego. What do you say? It is the id. The unconscious mind is connected with id and not ego. Okay, then third, the id is a set of those desires that need to be fulfilled or will create friction with the ego. So that's true or not? What does id create friction with? Let's go ahead and look at. Okay, the conflicts were in the second last paragraph. Okay, check this. If the external world offers no scope for the satisfaction of the id's pleasure drives, or more commonly, if the satisfaction of some or all of these drives would indeed transgress the moral sanctions laid down by the superego, then an inner conflict occurs. So, what does id fight with? The id comes and fights the superego, not the ego. So even this is not true, which means that our answer should be A. Neurosis is mental illness. Raj, in this context, you can think of neurosis as any mental disorder or any mental illness. So there you go. So this is what we call a fact-based question. And fact-based questions obviously require us to have a mental overview so that we can refer to the right area, the right part faster. If we can't do that, then it can at times lead to some issues. Okay, so here is the next one for you. Question 10, starting the timer. Yes, Jaspreet, ego resolves friction indeed. अरे हर्षित किसको नहीं है? Super ego meaning. Okay, Ayush, solve this question and then we'll talk about it. In which of the following ways is Freud similar to Plato? A says in their definition of the conscious mind. Okay. So when I say in the definition of the conscious mind, the problem is the passage has not even given us a definition of the conscious mind. And if a definition is not even given, there is no point, the question of the similarity also does not arise. So that's easy to rule out. Okay, can I say Freud is similar to Plato in their account of the human mind? I guess yes. Freud has a theory of unconscious mind, Plato's is theory of mind. Both of them are tripartite. Remember first paragraph. Hang on. Let me just take you back to the first paragraph. There you go. So what is the model? Tripartite model. Has many points of similarity. So that's one place. Again, like Plato. So Plato also had a tripartite kind of thingy happening. Then Plato was mentioned in second last. He also followed Plato in his account of the nature of mental health. So what is mental health? Both of them agreed on the definition of mental health. It's a harmonious relationship between the three elements. Okay, so we basically, these are the two places where these two individuals have been talked about. So in their account of the human mind, yeah, both of them believe human mind has those three things. So yeah, this is true. See, in the literal belief of the tripartite model. Now see, Freud believed in it literally. Did Plato also believe in it literally? Freud, yes. Plato, we don't know. So to say that they are similar in this way will not be possible in that particular scenario. And D, in their understanding of adult psychology. Dude, does the passage talk about adult psychology? It's not even mentioned in the passage. Isn't it out of scope? So B. Okay, so somebody was asking about what superego is. Okay, so Sejal is already explaining it. That's why I love your messages and the Facebook community as well. In case you are not aware of our Facebook community, we have a group called CAT Preparation by iQuanta. You can join that too. And that's what happens, a lot of students keep helping each other and we also pitch in, of course. So all of us have this part in our brain. Don't take it literally. You're saying that there is this tendency in our mind, and that tendency says that, hey, I have some desire. I want this desire to be fulfilled right now. So you've seen these young children, very small children. If they want something, they want something. You cannot reason with them. They'll just cry. They'll start throwing tantrums. They don't have that self-control. Okay? So after that comes in ego. So ego says that, hey, I know that I have desires, but then I cannot really expect that these desires are to be fulfilled right now. So ego finds a way to figure out how we can fulfill that desire in a way which is socially acceptable. So that part of your brain which can kind of control that instinctive impulse, those urges, is ego. And then superego is your conscience. Superego is that part of your brain that figures out, which is linked with your value system, that tells you whether something is right or wrong. So ego basically comes in between these two. So id wants a desire to be fulfilled. Ego tries to find a way to fulfill that desire which is acceptable or which is not harmful, which is not destructive. But then superego can at times start playing spoil sport there. So you want to get great scores in the exam. You don't want to study because studying is painful. So your ego may think that, hey, how about we cheat? We can cheat. So my desire to perform well is satisfied without working hard. But then superego comes into picture and says, no. That's not right, and we don't do what is not right. So it controls, it reigns in ego. It takes some options off the table. So these are the three distinct tendencies that we have according to Freud. There are of course many more things that we went ahead and talked about. Okay, next. The last question based on the passage. Okay, loads and loads of answers. So I'm getting B, I'm getting A. See, if there is any option that confuses you, put it here. Put it in the chat so that I know. Okay, so the question says which of the following can be inferred? Inferred basically means which of the following can be concluded. Now we know that a conclusion can be true, false, or can't say. So we go to each one of these 4 answer choices and apply that label true, false, can't say, and then see what happens. So A, though Freud divided the mind into 3 parts, he gave maximum emphasis to the ego where the conscious mind resided. He divided the mind into 3 parts, that's right. But he gave maximum emphasis to the ego is something that we cannot determine from the passage. Which part was considered more important or more emphasized upon is not mentioned. Okay, B, the mind tries its best to prevent internal conflicts from becoming too severe by initiating various processes unconsciously. True. It is based on the information supplied in the last paragraph. How about C, the 3 structural elements of the mind work independently of each other. False. Dude, these are interconnected. So they're not working independently of each other. They are working with each other or against each other, whatever the situation may be. D, Freud's structuring of the mind was somewhat influenced by the works of the psychoanalysts of old. Can't say. It is influenced by Plato, yes, but by the psychoanalysts of old, we don't know. So was Plato a psychoanalyst? We don't know it according to the passage. Even if he were, that is just one psychoanalyst of the old. So from there, if you go to all, it is anyway going to be can't say. And now that we have applied these labels in an inference-based question, if there is an answer which is true, then that's the one that we pick. So that's B. So there you go. Now tell me. Meghna, I'll just rephrase your comment. I say inference is always unstated. So inference is never written. Okay. But we don't have enough to arrive at this conclusion either in the passage because the psychoanalysts of old are not even mentioned. So for those of us who are mathematically inclined, we'll say it is something that cannot be determined. It is something for which the data provided are insufficient. So there you go. Now the challenge can be that, hey, you are not able to apply these labels successfully, and if that happens, then what do? You move back to critical reasoning, pick up the concepts from there, and then go ahead and apply those things here. Okay? So that's about this particular passage. Any question or concern so far? Shefali, sir, is it okay at this point of time? I'm not able to get a single question correct. Shefali, it is always okay. Yeah, getting a question wrong is not a crime, is not a sin. The fact is that when you sit and attempt a passage, it is a test of your abilities, and if you get the question wrong, all that it means is that, hey, my current ability level is not enough to answer this particular question. That's all. So in a way you are able to figure out your current ability level through that. And thereafter, the essence of the preparation is to increase our ability level so that we eventually are able to answer the question comfortably. There you go. Right? So is it okay if you're getting everything wrong? Absolutely okay. Yaar. It's definitely not the end of the world. It just tells us that we may need to work harder, that we may need to pour in hours towards improvement, but beyond that, that's all that it is. I mean, it's like, look at me. Yaar. Do I look like a bodybuilder to you? Now, if I were to ask you, is it okay if I don't have muscles and I have a paunch right now? Is it okay? Yeah, it is okay. Yaar. I can start hitting the gym and I can reach that nice little state in a few months. Yeah, if somebody is already muscular, then he'll probably take less time than I do. But if I want to do it, I can. Similarly, you're getting it wrong, it's okay. If you want to get these right, you can. Raj, level of difficulty, I'd say if I talk about the passage definitely is moderate or moderate to difficult, but the questions are definitely moderate. So if I talk about the first one, let's just go and revisit these. So if I talk about, let us say this one, It's a specific detail question, right? But you had to refer to different parts. But I'm calling it easy to moderate. Then if I talk about the next one, this is moderate or perhaps moderate to difficult, because the passage was difficult and it required interpreting each one of these things correctly. It does make it a little challenging. And if I talk about the third one, reasoning based questions are rarely easy, because I mean, to me, I look at these, I'm able to arrive at the answers, so I get those biases at times, but I know that inference based questions are questions that a lot of people struggle with. So moderate. So overall, I'd call it moderate. Pragya, all that the passage, you are absolutely right. Passage says the conscious self created by interaction between the id and superego. So something which is created by interactions of something else, how do we arrive at central role from there? How do we arrive at the central role? So I mean, I've studied chemistry, hopefully you too. So if two compounds interact and lead to a third compound, the creation of a third compound, what makes us say that the third compound is being given more emphasis or it has a central role? So the assumption involved in that process is a little questionable. Okay, with that, let's go ahead and have a look at this particular set of directions. Akanksha, is it linked with the subject matter of the passage, or you're saying that okay, the passages had the same subject matter, yet that variation came in day to day? Khushi, absolutely, this is pretty subjective, yeah. If I see at the end of the day, what is easy and what is difficult? If I can solve it, it is easy. If I cannot solve it, it is difficult. That's as simple as that. And yes, it is going to be very subjective. Okay, so this is going to be a best summary question. In these questions, we are given a paragraph followed by 4 alternate summaries. Our job is to pick up the best summary of the lot. 80% of the CAT questions do not even technically give you a summary. They basically give you just the key idea. So here is the paragraph. Why don't you read it at a proper font size? And in the next slide, I will give you options. Okay, read the paragraph. Akanksha, whenever that happens, just cut down on your pace, okay? Try going slow. When you're solving the exam, try going slow. When you're solving a question, try going slow. And then take some special measures through reading of challenging material to become better. Mukul, same advice for you, yeah? Pick up and okay, after this question. Hang on. Done? So here are the options. Use the seeker to refer to the paragraph if needed. Okay. So a lot of answers streaming in. That's nice. That's nice to see that. When you guys are able to answer a question in under 90 seconds, that somehow makes me very happy. And what makes me happier still is the fact that you guys have gotten it right. So D it is. I see one or two other options. So I see A. Let's look at A. The human actions are driven by the need to find meanings as opposed to the need to find happiness. Where do we know this? How do we know that our actions are driven by meaningfulness and not happiness? It's factually incorrect. The human actions can be driven by both or either and not necessarily driven by finding meanings. So we're not exclusively linking this as a or referring to this as a driver of the human actions in the paragraph. So there's this distortion here, and that's why A can be ruled out. Raj, you have a point, but then let's see. Your point is, yeah, D does not appear to be very concise, and summary is supposed to be concise, short. So you are absolutely right, but we want it to be correct first and then concise. So you give me two options where both of them are right. Both of them are the correct summaries. One of them is more concise. Then that's the one that we opt for. But here, if you notice, every option has some problem or the other. We already looked at the problem in A. When you look at B, B talks about humanitarianism. What exactly is humanitarianism? Humanitarianism involves addressing the needs of people who are affected by conflict, natural disaster, epidemics, etc. It's not even mentioned anywhere. So that's an alien thing. We are bringing in something new. An addition, rule it out. How about C? Embracing selflessness and altruism are not mentioned as ways to attain altruism in the paragraph. Addition, rule it out. So they were not even correct. So therefore, even if D is not concise, we can still go ahead and pick it up. Okay? Harshit, Jalamat. So that's what I was carrying for you today. So if you were here for a bit of discussion on certain things and how to eliminate options, how to approach, the job is done. Here is a thought that I want to leave you with. And now is the time for the Q&A. So if you have anything you want to discuss or talk about, I'll stay here with you for a brief while. We'll talk and then I'll go. This is one of my all-time favorite quotes by the legend. So, impossible is nothing. No matter where you are today, all you can do is go ahead and give your best. Do not allow all that garbage to come to your mind which says you can't do it. So, questions. How to know the tone of the paragraph? Sakshi, I actually recorded a small little video for our sister channel. We also coach people for CLAT, IPMAT, etc. So can you just Google RC tones, iQuanta, CLAT, IPMAT, CAT. It's probably uploaded on some channel or the other. So that's going to be probably a rather sound answer to your query. Go ahead, watch that video and then we'll see. Is it possible to shift the pre-crash course around 7? Purna, I think that's I am more on the teaching end. This is a call that is taken by the operation guys. I'll definitely pass on the feedback. I think the batch timings should be perhaps 7 to 9 if I'm not mistaken. But I definitely pass it around. I think what you say makes sense. Keshav, you noticed how we eliminated close options today? We were looking at every option, right? And wherever people told me that, hey, this can also be the answer, no? We went ahead and adopted a certain mechanism. For example, in inference-based questions, true-false can't say. That will make everything clear. In a main idea question, remember, I've probably talked about it earlier as well, 180-degree approach. That can help you a lot. So हो जाएगा, करते रहेंगे, धीरे धीरे हो जाएगा. Achal, my doubt is same when I solve parajumbles, the sequence makes sense. Check the answer. Achal, so just look at the rationale offered, okay? There has to be some clue that you probably missed out on. If you had you identified that clue, you could have gotten it right. So it's all about missing out on identification of some clue here. Nothing fancy beyond that actually. Thank you, Shweta. For the Plato inference question, I did not get why C is preferred. Purna, inference means conclusion. C was the only one which was true. C was the only one that could have been concluded on the basis of the information provided in the last paragraph of the passage. The others could not be concluded. So in case you're struggling with these questions, I will take you through reasoning based questions specifically in our crash course. But until then, you may want to dig deeper into inference based questions of critical reasoning. Speed is slow. Scooby, just put in a speed session every day where for at least 15 minutes you sit down and read fast. Whether you are able to understand it or not does not matter. Just sit down and read fast. Think of it as training your eyes to move faster. Ayushi, it could happen when you practice a lot. Okay, when you practice a lot, you may end up getting fatigued. So take a 3-4 day break and then we'd see. Sejal, if you are not aware of the meanings of the words, then learn those meanings, but otherwise, yeah, it's better to skip it. Mentality during crash course, believe whatever taught, basics. No, yeah, Einstein, in a crash course, we will not be able to teach you things from the basics. So when we don't have enough time, what do? We will keep only the essential features of the concepts in the classes and we'd focus more on practice. So my take on crash course is that this is designed to take you towards mastery. But we do have other ways of teaching you basics. So remember, we have that engineers VARC and non-engineers QA. You can always go through those modules. They should help. But I cannot really guarantee that we'd be able to start from absolute scratch. Ankit, it is entirely normal. All I'd recommend is meditate. Meditation gives you some perspective. I can in fact suggest you something even more precise. So fill a bowl, pick up a bowl, fill it with water, put it on a table. Now your goal is to look at the entire rim of the bowl. So for 3, 4, 5 minutes every day, just look at the entire rim. Now the trick is, if you look at the rim directly, you will not be able to focus on the entire rim. If you look at the rim directly, you would focus on only a point. So the trick here is that you focus a little higher up, but the entire rim remains in your focus, in your awareness, so to say. So this helps you with detachment, putting things in perspective. So maybe try that out. Try this particular meditation out and then we'll see. Attempt 3 RC, all VA questions. Meghna, if you are doing this much, then you are already at 99.5 percentile plus. So do not unnecessarily push you in the mock or the exam. At the same time, there is no harm in trying to work up some speed during the practice. So between one mock and another, you can engage in activities where you just push yourself to go a little faster. Until that higher speed becomes the new normal for you. In the exam, you're not supposed to be consciously fast. If you're consciously fast, then it affects your accuracy rate. Parajumble's trick. Atul, read the sentences. Those sentences contain various clues. Those clues can come in the form of words and expressions. Those clues can come in the form of ideas. We use them to, and then we use them to identify sequences and mandatory pairs. We looked at a couple of questions at the beginning, so we talked about it there. How to choose the exact answer? Freaky, that depends on the question type. So the technique varies from question type to question type, and when we work together, you'd be able to see how I approach the question of a particular category. And in that process, whenever you were confused, you share those with me. I'll tell you how to get unstuck, and in the process, you learn the exact techniques as well. Tulsi, take a break. Easiest fix. Shiv Durga, yeah, the team sends it. I'll have to go check it. Yeah, I'm not very sure. They should be, but as I said, yeah, I haven't really reviewed those. The exam is coming close. Prefer to continue reading articles to building vocabulary. Absolutely, Purna. This is not an either or situation. You can continue to read article and work on vocabulary. Continue doing that. Absolutely okay. Reading is something that you can continue to do even till the last day. It's absolutely all right. Okay, चलिए. So राज 20 minutes थोड़ा ज़्यादा लग रहा है यार. मतलब ओवरऑल अटेम्प्ट में देखना, ऐसे डिवाइड मत कर सबकॉन्शियसली इसको. जो आसान है वो पहले करने का, और आसान क्या है वो थोड़ा सब्जेक्टिव हो सकता है. हाँ, फॉर डिफरेंट इंडिविजुअल्स वो थोड़ा सब्जेक्टिव हो सकता है डिपेंडिंग ऑन द पेपर दैट यू गेट. सो कीप थिंग्स फ्लेक्सिबल. ओके, जस्ट बी रेडी टू टेक अ कॉल इन दैट मोमेंट. Mukul, that's fantastic, yeah. So if you can read fast, that's one thing sorted for you. Now start reading challenging texts where every day for at least 20 minutes, if possible 30 minutes, sit down with the intention to understand it completely. Don't go fast. So in those 15, 20, 30 minutes, if you do not know the meaning of a word, look it up. Don't do it for the rest of the day, but in those minutes, look it up. If it contains a jargon, understand it, come back. Chances are that you may end up reading only 4 or 5 lines, but it will give you that necessary patience and that ability to, that tenacity to actually understand something when required. Okay? So, let's stop here today. Mukul, again, if politics, just pick up and read something from that area. How about NCERT's 12th standard political theory book? It's an excellent choice. It'll teach you all about all these different terms like Marxism, communism, fascism, capitalism, liberalism. You'd know about these things, and that will make you feel better in the exam when it comes to political theory based passages. Okay? So chaliye, so that's where I stop today. I'll see you in our next session, and until then, please make sure that you do subscribe to the channel, and if you enjoy working with me, don't forget to like the video as well. Have a great evening ahead. Catch you later.